A simple question with a profound answer. What kind of person continues to wear clothes they purchased a decade ago? At first glance, the answer might seem straightforward. Perhaps someone frugal, nostalgic, or hesitant to embrace change. But what if this choice speaks to something far deeper? What if it reveals a profound philosophy on life, identity, and the values that shape who we are? Picture this. You're walking down the street, and you notice someone wearing a well-worn jacket that looks like it's been part of their wardrobe for years. Instinctively, you might wonder, why don't they buy something new? In a world obsessed with shiny, fresh, and trendy, why would anyone hold on to something old? It's a curious thought, and yet, it's one that invites us to question the way we approach life itself. In today's fast-paced world, where trends change as quickly as the seasons and materialism dominates our culture, holding on to older clothes can seem like an odd choice, perhaps even a small act of rebellion. But what if this seemingly simple habit is more than just practicality or sentimentality? What if it carries lessons from ancient wisdom, rooted in Buddhist teachings, about mindfulness, impermanence, and the art of letting go? Think about the clothes in your closet. Somewhere in there, you likely have a favorite shirt, sweater, or pair of jeans that has seen you through life's ups and downs. It's not just fabric, it's a piece of your story, a silent witness to your personal journey. Every thread holds a memory: the day you got your first job, the laughter shared with friends, the quiet moments when you sought comfort during hard times. It's as if these items carry echoes of who we were, whispering reminders of where we've been. Yet, the question remains, why do we hold on to these items? Are we resisting change, clinging to a past we can't let go of? Or are we honoring the journey, recognizing that even the simplest objects can carry profound meaning? In Buddhism, the concept of impermanence teaches us that everything in life changes, yet within that change lies the opportunity to find peace and gratitude. Holding on to an old garment doesn't necessarily mean we're stuck in the past. Instead, it can mean we've chosen to appreciate its role in our lives without being consumed by the need for something new. Imagine, for a moment, that each item you keep is a chapter in your personal history. That worn-out hoodie isn't just old, it's a reminder of late-night conversations, rainy day strolls, and times when life felt a little simpler. In Buddhism, there's a teaching that resonates deeply here: mindfulness. To be mindful means to be present, fully aware of the life unfolding around you. When we hold on to objects with intention, we're practicing mindfulness, acknowledging their significance while remaining present in the here and now. But there's another layer to this story. The choice to keep and wear old clothes is also an act of defiance against the relentless consumerism that defines our modern age. Everywhere we look, we're told to upgrade, replace, and discard. New is better, old is obsolete. Yet, for those who choose to hold onto their well-loved garments, the message is clear. True worth isn't found in the new or the flashy, but in the meaningful and enduring. Take a moment to reflect. What are the items in your life that hold meaning? Is it an old jacket that kept you warm during your toughest days? A scarf that reminds you of a loved one? A pair of shoes that carried you through countless adventures? These objects aren't just possessions, they're symbols of resilience, connection, and continuity. This brings us to an important question. How do we navigate the balance between cherishing the past and embracing the present? In Buddhist philosophy, there's a delicate dance between non-attachment and gratitude. We're encouraged not to cling too tightly to things, yet at the same time, to honor what they've given us. It's not about hoarding or resisting change, it's about finding meaning in the journey. So, what kind of person wears clothes they purchased a decade ago? Perhaps it's someone who values substance over style, stories over trends, and authenticity over appearances. Perhaps it's someone who sees beauty in the simplicity of what they already have. Someone who has found peace in knowing that the essence of life isn't about acquiring more, but about cherishing what truly matters. As we dive deeper into this exploration, we'll uncover the lessons these choices can teach us, not just about clothing, but about life itself. From understanding the emotional bonds we form with objects to learning how to let go, every thread of this story connects to a greater truth. Stay with me as we explore these ideas together. You might just find that this simple question about a jacket, a pair of shoes, or an old sweater has the power to transform the way you see your world, your values, and your path forward. Let's begin. 2. The significance of clothing in life. Clothing is more than just fabric. It's a second skin that accompanies us through life's milestones, silently bearing witness to our joys, struggles, and growth. An old sweater isn't merely worn-out material. It's a tapestry of memories and emotions, woven with moments that define who we are and where we've been. While the thread may fray and the colors fade, the stories they carry remain vivid, reminding us of the unique journey we've traveled. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of interconnectedness offers profound insight into our relationship with objects, including clothing. It teaches that nothing exists in isolation. Everything is tied to our past, present, and future in intricate ways. When you hold an old shirt in your hands, you're not just touching fabric, you're touching time itself. It has absorbed the moments it has witnessed, the hands that have folded it, the bodies it has warmed, and the stories it has silently shared in. Every wrinkle and every faded stitch speaks of a life lived fully. There is also an irony in how old clothes embody impermanence, a cornerstone of Buddhist teachings. While nothing in life remains the same, people change, seasons shift, and circumstances evolve. Old clothes seem to defy this transience. They hold on to fragments of time, anchoring us in a world that feels like it's constantly moving. When you slip on a pair of well-worn jeans or wrap yourself in an old scarf, it's as if you're transported back to a moment when life felt more certain, more stable. Yet, even this connection to the past is fleeting, for the clothes, like everything else, will eventually wear out. Imagine an elderly man who cherishes his 30-year-old jacket. To outsiders, it may appear as an outdated garment, but to him, it is much more. That jacket represents resilience, the ability to endure through the ebb and flow of life. It reminds him of the first significant milestone he achieved, perhaps the first paycheck he proudly earned. For him, the jacket is not simply a piece of clothing. It is a mirror of his inner strength and perseverance. This connection mirrors the Buddhist principle of mindfulness, which calls us to see beyond the surface, to find meaning and beauty in the present moment and in the objects that accompany us through life. Old clothes, much like old friends, carry a comforting familiarity. They adapt to our bodies over time, becoming uniquely ours in a way new items never can. The worn texture of a favorite sweater or the frayed hem of a beloved dress doesn't diminish their value. Instead, these imperfections enhance it. They remind us that life, too, is imperfect, and it's precisely these imperfections that make it rich and meaningful. In Buddhism, this idea is reflected in the concept of wabi-sabi, a Japanese aesthetic rooted in Buddhist philosophy, which finds beauty in imperfection, impermanence, and the passage of time. Consider, too, how clothing reflects identity. It is not merely about fashion or style. It is about how we see ourselves and how we wish to be seen by the world. When someone chooses to keep wearing the same clothes over the years, it often signals a deep sense of self-assurance and authenticity. They are saying, "I know who I am, and I don't need to change simply because the world does." This act of staying true to oneself aligns closely with Buddhist teachings on inner freedom, the idea that true liberation comes not from external validation, but from within. But this connection to clothing is not just about nostalgia or self-expression. It also speaks to the human desire for continuity in a world of constant change. Old clothes remind us of the relationships we've built, the places we've been, and the milestones we've achieved. They are tangible representations of our journey, much like the practice of keeping relics or mementos in Buddhist traditions. These objects serve as symbols of gratitude, helping us to remember the lessons learned and the people who have shaped our lives. At the same time, holding on to old clothes teaches us about letting go. It may sound paradoxical, but Buddhism often emphasizes the balance between attachment and detachment. While it's natural to feel a connection to things that hold meaning, it's equally important not to let those connections weigh us down. Clothes may carry memories, but they are not the memories themselves. As the Buddha taught, clinging to anything, be it material possessions or emotional states, can lead to suffering. The key is to cherish what we have without becoming bound by it. The symbolism of clothing extends even further when we consider its role in sustainability and mindfulness. In today's world, dominated by consumerism, the act of keeping and wearing old clothes is a quiet but powerful statement. It challenges the notion that happiness can be found in constant acquisition. Instead, it aligns with the Buddhist value of simplicity, reminding us that we already have enough. By choosing to reuse and repurpose, we are not only honoring the resources that went into creating these items, but also practicing right action, living in a way that minimizes harm to the environment and promotes harmony. Think of the times you've rediscovered an old item in your wardrobe. Maybe it was a sweater you hadn't worn in years, and slipping it on felt like reconnecting with an old friend. Or perhaps it was a jacket that reminded you of a trip that changed your perspective. These moments, though small, are deeply meaningful. They prompt us to reflect on the paths we've walked and the growth we've experienced. In Buddhist thought, these reflections are opportunities for gratitude. When we take a moment to appreciate the role that even the simplest objects play in our lives, we cultivate a sense of mindfulness. We become more present, more attuned to the richness of our experiences. Old clothes, in this sense, are not just garments, they are teachers, quietly reminding us to pause, reflect, and be thankful for what we have. Ultimately, the significance of clothing in life lies not in its material value, but in the stories it tells. Each piece carries a chapter of our journey, a fragment of our identity, and a lesson in impermanence. By embracing these lessons, we not only deepen our connection to ourselves, but also to the world around us. Clothing, then, becomes more than a necessity. It becomes a symbol of the life we've lived and the person we continue to become. Emotional and psychological bonds with clothing. Why do we form such strong emotional bonds with our possessions, especially clothing? To many, this might seem like a simple question, but the answer reveals the depths of human psychology and our shared experiences. In the field of psychology, these attachments are often explained through the lens of nostalgia, a powerful longing for the comfort and familiarity of the past. Nostalgia isn't merely about remembering. It's about reliving moments that brought joy, security, or a sense of belonging. When it comes to clothing, these moments are woven into the fabric itself, turning ordinary items into tangible representations of our lives. But when viewed through the lens of Buddhist philosophy, these bonds take on an even deeper significance. They reveal the intricate ways in which we define ourselves and navigate the complexities of impermanence. Buddha taught that attachment is one of the root causes of suffering, as it binds us to desires, expectations, and an unwillingness to accept change. Yet, it's important to recognize that not all attachment is inherently harmful. When we hold onto objects, such as an old coat, a favorite pair of shoes, or a scarf, we're not always resisting change. Sometimes, we're honoring the journey that those items represent. They become markers of our growth, reminders of the lessons learned, and symbols of the connections we've forged. Picture an older woman who carefully preserves a scarf given to her by her late husband. To others, it may appear as just another piece of fabric, but to her, it's a cherished thread of their shared story. Every time she wraps it around her shoulders, she feels the warmth of their love and the echoes of their laughter. In Buddhist practice, this act can be seen as a form of compassion, not only towards the memory of her husband, but also towards herself. By holding on to this meaningful item, she acknowledges the depth of their bond and cultivates gratitude for the experiences that shaped her life. Yet, this attachment must be approached with balance. Buddhism teaches that clinging too tightly to the past can hinder our ability to fully embrace the present. While it's natural to feel connected to things that remind us of meaningful moments, we must be mindful of when these connections transform into burdens. The scarf, for example, should remain a source of comfort and joy, not a chain that keeps her locked in sorrow or longing for what was. The key is to cherish the memory it holds without letting it weigh her down. Clothing, in particular, holds a unique emotional power because it interacts so intimately with our lives. A well-worn sweater doesn't just sit in your closet. It hugs you on cold days, accompanies you on adventures, and absorbs the scents, sounds, and emotions of your life. These items become imbued with a sense of self, representing who we were in a particular moment. This deep connection often stems from our innate desire for continuity in a world that constantly changes. Old clothes remind us that while everything around us evolves, some pieces of our identity remain steady. This emotional bond, however, isn't solely about the past. It's also about how we see ourselves in the present and how we project that identity into the future. When you choose to keep wearing a shirt you've owned for years, you're making a statement. I am comfortable with who I am. In a society that frequently pushes us to reinvent ourselves to fit external expectations, this choice can be an act of self-acceptance and inner peace. It aligns closely with the Buddhist principle of mindfulness, encouraging us to focus on the value of what we have now rather than chasing after fleeting desires. There's a delicate beauty in this connection between clothing and identity. The imperfections that come with age, a faded color, a frayed edge, don't detract from an item's value. They enhance it. These flaws tell a story of resilience, of weathering life's storms, and of finding strength in the face of change. This mirrors the Buddhist concept of wabi-sabi, which celebrates the beauty found in imperfection and impermanence. Our favorite clothes remind us that life, like fabric, is both fragile and enduring, and it's this paradox that makes it so meaningful. But what happens when the time comes to let go? This is one of life's most challenging questions. Whether we're dealing with possessions, relationships, or even aspects of our identity, Buddhism offers guidance here as well, teaching that letting go is not an act of rejection but one of liberation. By releasing what no longer serves us, we make space for new growth and opportunities. This doesn't mean forgetting or devaluing what came before. Instead, it's about honoring its role in our journey while moving forward with a lighter heart. Imagine a man who finally decides to part with a suit he wore during his early career. The suit, once a symbol of ambition and success, no longer fits his body or his lifestyle. At first, the thought of letting it go feels like losing a piece of himself, but as he reflects, he realizes that the lessons and experiences tied to that suit are not contained within its fabric. They're within him. Letting go of the suit doesn't erase his accomplishments. It frees him to embrace the next chapter of his life. This act of release is a profound practice of non-attachment, a reminder that we are more than the objects we own. Clothing, like all possessions, serves as a bridge between our inner and outer worlds. It reflects not only how we wish to be seen, but also how we feel about ourselves. When we hold on to certain items, we're often holding on to the emotions, identities, and memories they represent. And while these connections are natural and meaningful, they must be balanced with the wisdom to know when to release them. Ultimately, the emotional and psychological bonds we form with clothing remind us of the complexities of being human. They teach us about love, loss, and the ways we carry our stories with us. They encourage us to find gratitude in the smallest things and to approach life with mindfulness and compassion. Whether we're keeping an old jacket or deciding it's time to say goodbye, these moments are opportunities to reflect on who we are and what truly matters. In the end, it's not just about the clothes. It's about the journey they've taken with us, the memories they hold, and the lessons they teach. By embracing both the joy and the impermanence of these connections, we can navigate life with greater understanding, acceptance, and peace. 4. Practical and environmental benefits of keeping old clothes. Beyond nostalgia and emotion, keeping old clothes serves practical purposes that resonate with both personal values and broader environmental concerns. In today's world, where fast fashion dominates the market and wardrobes are frequently replaced to keep up with fleeting trends, the decision to hold on to and reuse old clothes feels almost revolutionary. It is a quiet, personal statement that challenges the norms of consumerism and aligns with a deeper understanding of sustainability. From a Buddhist perspective, this act connects closely to the principle of right action, one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right action encourages us to live in ways that minimize harm, not just to others, but also to the world we inhabit. The clothing we choose to keep and reuse is a reflection of this mindful practice. By extending the life of these garments, we reduce the demand for new production, minimizing the waste and environmental degradation that often accompanies the fashion industry. This is not just a practical choice, it is a compassionate one, grounded in respect for the earth and the resources that sustain us. Take, for example, the humble robes of Buddhist monks. These garments are not discarded at the first sign of wear. Instead, they are patched and repurposed, sometimes taking on new forms as they age. This practice is not merely about thriftiness. It is an expression of humility and mindfulness. By mending and reusing their robes, monks embody a profound respect for the materials they have been given. In this simple act, they teach us a powerful lesson: that value does not diminish with age, and that our relationship with possessions can be one of gratitude rather than exploitation. The same principle applies to our own lives. When we choose to keep an old jacket or a pair of jeans that have seen us through countless seasons, we are making a conscious decision to live more simply. We are rejecting the idea that new is always better and instead focusing on what truly matters. This choice encourages us to step off the treadmill of endless consumption and find contentment in what we already have. Living sustainably isn't just an environmental choice, it's also a spiritual one. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is craving, the insatiable desire for more. This craving often manifests in our relationship with material possessions. We are conditioned to believe that buying something new will bring us happiness, that the next purchase will finally fill the void. Yet, this cycle only leads to temporary satisfaction, followed by the inevitable longing for the next thing. By resisting the urge to constantly acquire new items, we cultivate a sense of contentment and gratitude. We begin to see that what we already have is enough. This shift in perspective is not only beneficial to our mental and emotional well-being, but also has a profound impact on the planet. The environmental cost of fast fashion is staggering. From the water-intensive process of growing cotton to the chemical dyes that pollute rivers, the production of clothing takes a heavy toll on the earth. And once these items are discarded, many end up in landfills, contributing to the growing problem of textile waste. By choosing to keep and care for our clothes, we play a small but significant role in reducing this impact. Consider a favorite sweater that has been with you for years. Over time, it may have developed a few holes or lost some of its original color. But instead of discarding it, you decide to mend it or repurpose it. In doing so, you're not only extending the life of that sweater, but also honoring the resources that went into making it. This simple act of repair is a form of mindfulness, a way of saying, I see the value in what I have, and I choose to nurture it. Keeping old clothes also invites us to be more creative. When we stop seeing garments as disposable and start viewing them as adaptable, we unlock new possibilities. An old dress can become a shirt. A worn-out jacket can be transformed into a bag. These acts of creativity not only breathe new life into our possessions, but also deepen our connection to them. They remind us that sustainability is not about deprivation. It's about innovation and respect. Moreover, the decision to reuse and repurpose clothing fosters a sense of community. It connects us to the generations that came before us, who often had no choice but to make the most of what they had. In many cultures, the art of mending clothes has been passed down as a valuable skill, one that teaches patience, resourcefulness, and an appreciation for quality. By embracing these practices, we become part of a larger tradition, one that values sustainability over excess. This perspective also challenges us to rethink the way we define value. In a world that often equates worth with novelty, old clothes remind us that true value lies not in how new or trendy something is, but in how much it means to us. A well-worn jacket that has accompanied us through life's milestones carries far more significance than a brand new item off the rack. It tells a story, one that is uniquely ours, and that story is worth preserving. In many ways, keeping old clothes is an act of gratitude. It's a way of saying thank you, not just to the garments themselves, but to the people and processes that brought them into our lives. It's a recognition that every piece of clothing represents a chain of effort and care, from the farmer who grew the cotton to the worker who sewed the fabric. By extending the life of these items, we honor their contributions and acknowledge the interconnectedness of all things. Ultimately, the practical and environmental benefits of keeping old clothes go hand in hand with a deeper, more mindful approach to life. They remind us to live with intention, to value what we have, and to tread lightly on the earth. In a society that often prioritizes convenience over sustainability, this choice may seem small, but its impact is profound. It reflects a commitment to a more thoughtful, compassionate way of living, one that respects both the planet and the people who call it home. By holding onto and reusing old clothes, we become part of a larger movement, one that seeks to redefine what it means to live well. We shift our focus from accumulation to appreciation, from wastefulness to mindfulness, and in doing so, we take a step closer to a world where simplicity, sustainability, and gratitude are at the heart of our choices. 5. Social pressures versus inner freedom. Modern society often equates worth with appearances. From billboards and social media to commercials and celebrity endorsements, we're bombarded with messages urging us to stay trendy, upgrade constantly, and prove our success through material possessions. New clothes, shiny gadgets, and the latest styles are often portrayed as symbols of achievement, indicators of status, and gateways to happiness. In this relentless pursuit of validation, it's easy to forget that the true essence of who we are lies not in what we wear or own, but in how we live and connect with the world. Yet, there are those who quietly defy this narrative. They hold on to old clothes, not out of necessity, but out of choice. For them, these garments are not mere items. They are pieces of their identity, reflections of their values, and symbols of their journey. They prioritize inner contentment over external validation, finding fulfillment in authenticity rather than societal approval. This simple act of choosing old clothes over new trends becomes a profound statement. I am enough as I am. In Buddhist philosophy, this concept is captured through the idea of inner freedom, liberation from the endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. The Buddha taught that the root of much of our suffering lies in our attachments and our constant desire for more. We crave acceptance, admiration, and recognition, often tying our self-worth to how others perceive us. But when we step back and reflect, we realize that no amount of external validation can bring lasting happiness. True joy comes from within, from embracing one's authentic self and breaking free from the need to conform to societal expectations. When someone chooses to wear old clothes, it often reflects a deeper understanding of this truth. They have learned that happiness doesn't come from impressing others or keeping up with fleeting trends. Instead, it comes from living a life aligned with their values, being comfortable in their own skin, and cherishing what truly matters. This choice is not about rejecting modernity or denying oneself the pleasure of new things. Rather, it's about being mindful and intentional, focusing on what brings genuine meaning rather than chasing superficial appearances. In a way, this rejection of societal pressures is a practice of non-attachment. Buddhist teachings remind us that clinging to material things, status, or validation only leads to more dissatisfaction. Trends come and go, and what's in today will inevitably be replaced tomorrow. By stepping away from this cycle, we free ourselves to focus on what endures, our relationships, our inner growth, and the values that guide us. The decision to keep and wear old clothes might seem insignificant on the surface, but it reflects a profound understanding of these principles. This quiet rebellion against societal norms can also inspire others. When someone sees a friend or neighbor confidently wearing a decade-old jacket, it challenges them to question their own motivations. Why do we feel the need to replace perfectly good items with new ones? Is it because they've lost their utility? Or is it because we fear being judged for falling behind? These moments of reflection can lead to a deeper understanding of what drives us and a reevaluation of what truly matters. The pressure to conform to societal standards is not new, but in today's hyper-connected world, it has become more pervasive. Social media platforms amplify this pressure, creating a constant comparison culture where we feel judged not only by what we wear but also by the life we portray. The endless stream of curated images and aspirational lifestyles makes it easy to believe that we are not enough, that we need to buy more, do more, and be more to measure up. But when we pause and reflect, we realize that this pursuit is exhausting and unfulfilling. What we really seek is peace, connection, and the freedom to be ourselves. Choosing to step away from these pressures requires courage. It means accepting that we might be judged or misunderstood. But it also brings a profound sense of liberation. When we stop worrying about how others perceive us, we open ourselves up to a life of greater authenticity and joy. This freedom allows us to make choices that align with our values rather than succumbing to the demands of others. There's a story in Buddhist tradition about a monk who owned only one robe. Despite its age and wear, the monk continued to use it, patching it up whenever needed. One day, a wealthy man asked the monk why he didn't replace it with something newer and more elegant. The monk replied, "This robe has served me well. It keeps me warm, protects me from the elements, and reminds me to live simply. What more do I need?" The monk's response is a reminder that the worth of something isn't in how it looks, but in how it serves its purpose. It also underscores the importance of contentment, finding peace with what we have rather than constantly seeking more. This philosophy can transform the way we approach not only clothing but also life itself. When we prioritize simplicity and authenticity over appearances, we create space for deeper connections and richer experiences. We begin to see that our worth isn't defined by what we own or how we look, but by the love we give, the kindness we show, and the integrity with which we live. Keeping old clothes becomes a metaphor for this mindset. It's a way of saying, I value what I have, and I don't need more to feel complete. It's a rejection of the notion that happiness lies in accumulation and a celebration of the idea that less is often more. This perspective not only fosters inner peace, but also sets an example for others, showing that true confidence comes from within. In the end, resisting societal pressures isn't about being defiant for the sake of it. It's about reclaiming our power to define what matters in our lives. It's about choosing values over vanity, substance over style, and authenticity over approval. By making these choices, we not only find greater freedom, but also inspire those around us to do the same. As we navigate a world that often prioritizes appearances over essence, let us remember the wisdom of inner freedom. Let us find the courage to be ourselves, to value what we have, and to live in a way that reflects our true selves. Because at the heart of it all, what truly matters is not how we're seen by others, but how we feel about the life we're living. 6. Bridging the past and present. Old clothes are like bridges. They connect us to our past while grounding us in the present. They carry memories of who we were, where we've been, and the moments that shaped us. Yet, they also serve as gentle reminders to reflect on where we are now, anchoring us in the present with a deeper understanding of our journey. These pieces of fabric, worn and weathered by time, are more than material. They are silent witnesses to the unfolding chapters of our lives. In Buddhism, the concept of non-self offers profound insight into this relationship with the past and present. Non-self teaches us that we are not static beings. We are ever-changing, shaped by our experiences, thoughts, and choices. We are not defined by our possessions or even by our past selves. Instead, we exist in a state of constant transformation, influenced by the world around us and the decisions we make. Holding on to an old garment, then, is not an act of clinging to what was, but an acknowledgement of the journey we've taken. It is a way of honoring the moments that have brought us to this present, all while remaining open to the future. Consider the story of a retired teacher who still wears a cardigan gifted by a loved one many years ago. Each time he puts it on, he feels a wave of gratitude for the love and support he has received throughout his life. That cardigan, though simple in appearance, represents decades of shared experiences and cherished relationships. It doesn't trap him in the past or make him long for days gone by. Instead, it serves as a touchstone, empowering him to approach the present moment with a sense of connection, mindfulness, and purpose. This idea of bridging the past and present is central to mindfulness. When we reflect on objects from our past, like an old sweater or a well-worn pair of shoes, we're invited to pause and consider the stories they carry. Perhaps that sweater was worn on a life-changing trip, or those shoes supported us during a challenging time. These reflections aren't about longing for the past, but about appreciating the journey that brought us to the present. In this way, old clothes become vessels for mindfulness, helping us find peace and gratitude in the here and now. At the same time, they remind us of the impermanence of life. Everything changes, fabrics fade, seams weaken, and styles evolve. But within this impermanence lies a profound truth. The value of these items doesn't lie in their physical state, but in the memories and lessons they embody. In Buddhism, this understanding helps us navigate the tension between attachment and letting go. Holding on to an old garment doesn't mean refusing to move forward. It means cherishing the past while remaining grounded in the present and open to the possibilities of the future. The stories embedded in old clothes also remind us of the relationships that have shaped us. A jacket passed down from a parent, a dress gifted by a friend, or a scarf from a loved one. These items carry the essence of connection. They remind us of the people who have walked alongside us, offering love, support, and guidance. By wearing these garments, we honor those relationships and keep their presence alive in our lives. Yet, this connection is not about clinging to the past. It's about drawing strength from it. These items serve as anchors, helping us stay rooted in our values and grounded in the knowledge that we are never truly alone. Old clothes also challenge us to embrace simplicity and authenticity. In a world that often prioritizes appearances, they remind us that what truly matters is not how we look, but how we feel. That cardigan worn by the retired teacher may not be fashionable by today's standards, but it is rich with meaning. It speaks of a life well lived, of moments of joy and resilience, and of a deep appreciation for what is truly important. By choosing to keep and wear old clothes, we reject the notion that we need to constantly reinvent ourselves to meet external expectations. Instead, we embrace the beauty of being who we are. This mindset reflects the Buddhist principle of mindfulness in action. When we wear an old garment with intention, we practice gratitude for the journey it has accompanied us on. We acknowledge the hands that crafted it, the resources that created it, and the experiences it has witnessed. We honor the interconnectedness of all things, the people, places, and moments that have contributed to our lives. And in doing so, we find a deeper sense of peace and contentment. Old clothes also teach us about balance. While they connect us to our past, they do not define us. We can appreciate their significance without becoming trapped by them. This balance mirrors the Buddhist teaching of the middle way, which encourages us to navigate life with wisdom and compassion. It's not about rejecting the past or clinging to it. It's about finding harmony between honoring what was and embracing what is. As we reflect on these ideas, we begin to see that the act of keeping old clothes is not merely a practical choice, it is a spiritual one. It invites us to slow down, to reflect, and to connect with the deeper currents of our lives. It reminds us that we are part of a greater whole, a tapestry of experiences and relationships that continues to unfold with each passing day. By wearing these garments, we bridge the gap between past and present, carrying the wisdom of our journey into the here and now. In this way, old clothes become more than just items in our wardrobe. They become symbols of resilience, gratitude, and mindfulness. They teach us to honor the path we've walked while remaining open to the road ahead. They remind us that while the past shapes us, it is the present that defines us. And in this moment, as we wear these tangible connections to our journey, we find ourselves fully alive, fully present, and fully at peace. The act of wearing old clothes may seem like a small, mundane decision, but when you pause to reflect, it becomes clear that this simple choice holds profound meaning. It's a philosophy of life rooted in appreciating the things we have, embracing simplicity, and living with mindfulness. Buddha's timeless wisdom reminds us that contentment is the greatest wealth. By recognizing the value of what's already in our hands, whether it's an old jacket, a favorite scarf, or a pair of well-worn shoes, we cultivate peace within ourselves and contribute to a world that values meaning over excess. Think for a moment about that one piece of clothing in your wardrobe you just can't part with. Maybe it's a shirt that's traveled with you through different phases of life. Or perhaps it's a sweater that provided comfort during a difficult time. Each thread tells a story. Each stitch holds a memory. These items are not merely fabric. They are reflections of the moments and emotions that shape us. And when we wear them, we're not just covering ourselves. We're wrapping ourselves in the essence of our journey. What's truly beautiful about this practice is how it connects us to ourselves in ways we may not always notice. It reminds us that we don't need to chase trends or buy the latest styles to feel complete. True completeness comes from within, from the memories we hold, the lessons we've learned, and the values we carry forward. Old clothes are like a mirror, reflecting not only who we once were, but also who we've become. They remind us of the strength we've gained, the challenges we've overcome, and the love we've shared. As we look at these garments, we can also recognize the wisdom and balance. Holding on to the past isn't about resisting change. It's about honoring the steps that brought us to this moment while being open to what lies ahead. Each thread of an old jacket, every worn-out edge of a pair of shoes, carries the imprint of resilience and the quiet reminder that we are ever evolving. In the same way, life calls us to embrace change without forgetting the foundation of who we are. This mindset is a powerful antidote to the pressures of modern life. In a world that often tells us we need more possessions, more success, more recognition, it's refreshing to take a step back and realize that what we already have is enough. The simple act of keeping and wearing old clothes becomes a statement of gratitude. It says, "I appreciate what has served me well. I honor the resources, the hands, and the effort that brought these items into my life. I choose to focus on what truly matters." Imagine the ripple effect this perspective can have. When we learn to value what we already have, we inspire those around us to do the same. We show others that life is not about constantly seeking the next thing, but about cherishing the present and finding joy in the small, meaningful details. In this way, our choices can create a wave of mindfulness and positivity that touches others in ways we may never see. So, I invite you to take a moment to reflect. What story does your favorite piece of clothing tell? What memories, lessons, and values does it carry with it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might resonate with someone else, sparking a sense of connection and reminding them of their own journey. Let's create a space where we celebrate these simple yet profound connections, a place where positivity and gratitude thrive. Thank you for taking the time to explore these ideas with me. Your presence here means more than words can express. If this video resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with others who might find inspiration in these reflections. Let's continue to spread a message of simplicity, mindfulness, and gratitude to those around us. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss new content. Together, we can continue this journey of growth and reflection, one small step at a time. Your support helps build a community of like-minded individuals seeking a deeper connection with themselves and the world. As you move forward with your day, I hope these thoughts stay with you. May they inspire you to look at the things in your life, old clothes, familiar routines, cherished memories, with a renewed sense of appreciation. And may they remind you that true happiness lies not in what you acquire, but in how you live, love, and honor the moments that make up your journey. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Let's continue to grow together.